So tell me, to what extent does Takeda support patients and patient organizations? You mentioned about some flagships examples, but maybe you want to tell about something more.
Oh, we have a lot, to be quite honest. We really have a lot. We have the hemophilia experience, which I just shared, the home deliveries now in immunology.
But you mentioned about the psychology?
About the psychological support, but we're developing more and more. And maybe it's also interesting to talk about the approach, because also in therapeutic areas where we start working, the first thing is looking at the patient journey. What do they go through? And then decide what makes sense there. We're currently doing that in the field of multiple myeloma. We're doing that in the field of IBD, so we can really develop a solution that's tailor-made. So when you talk about flagship, for me it's more the approach, which is almost the flagship, rather than the solution as such, because each solution needs to make sense for that patient, and it will become their flagship because it helps them focus on their life.
It's like user experience in technology, right?
Yes, yes.
How would you evaluate the strengths of cooperation with patient organizations?
Very good. There's a very constructive collaboration because we have a common passion to make sure, a common objective to make sure that we can support where we can really support and it makes sense. We also, and that is across the board for all patient organizations. Some have more experience than other, some have more means than other. That's clear. So we also need to be mindful of how we support one organization versus the other. But the common goal is what drives us together and make sure that the collaboration is effective.
Takeda has been working with many patients organizations, so I was wondering, how do you assess the level of patients' knowledge who represents different therapeutic areas in which your firm is a specialist?
Well, they know everything there is about living with the disease. So that knowledge is on a level that in a company we cannot get without that collaboration, and we need that. Like I said, if we want to realize our vision, we need those inputs to, in partnership with each other, be able to develop those ecosystems, those holistic patient experiences. So when it comes to the level of knowledge, that's always there. Like I said, some are more experienced or not, some are just starting. That's also clear. So in some cases, we might be able to help them as well become stronger in terms of organization, because that's something as a pharmaceutical company we're traditionally very good at. So if they would, that's something we can collaborate on there. But we definitely need to stay in a very close collaboration with all of them to make sure that we get all the insights we need to partner effectively, whether they're just starting or they're super experienced in their field.
Can you learn something from patient organizations?
Yes, of course. Like I said, they are the experts, unfortunately for them, but they are the experts of living with their disease. We will not be able to add value without fully understanding that. That's why that partnership with them is so important, because there's no point in us developing a solution in an office in Warsaw if it doesn't make sense for a patient who lives with their disease every day. So yes.
Okay. Does cooperation with this kind of partner, which is patient organizations, create any challenges for a pharmaceutical company?
I don't think so. You need to do it right. There's a lot of regulation around it, which is good because it keeps everyone safe. It keeps the patient organization and it keeps us safe. So there's strict boundaries as to what you can do and what you cannot do. But as long as you adhere to that and stay in, I said, in the close dialogue together, both parties can only gain from that collaboration.
Was that close dialogue from the beginning of your cooperation, or does this cooperation model has changed through years?
I think it has changed. I can't say how it has changed over the last 25 years in Poland because I'm only here now for 1 year. But when I look at the beginning of my career until now, it has significantly changed. And I'm very happy with that change. The patient is really at the center of everything we do now, so much more than it was 25 years ago. And I think it has to be. Pharmaceutical companies only deserve their place in the healthcare market if they take that seriously and they partner and they offer true value. And we can only do that in collaboration.
Okay, so tell us, because maybe some patient organizations are listening right now to our conversation, how can patients organization start cooperation with Takeda?
In different ways. Like said, we really start always by fully understanding what the disease means. That's something we can have a dialogue on. Also, within Takeda, we have two different teams, if you will, when it comes to patients. One team really on strengthening their voice. We want the patient's voice to be embedded in the Polish healthcare system. It is not now, not systematically. And we think that should change, because that patient perspective should not only allow us to develop the right ecosystems, it should be present in discussions also with ministries, with policymakers, and everywhere. So that's one area where we can collaborate on, again, within the regulations that exist that rightfully exist in the country. A second area is on what we call patient support, those ecosystems again that we talked about. So those are two areas, and if they are not working with us now and they would like to, they can contact us. Our information is public, is on the website, and then we can see is it better with one department or in the other, and then we'll start a collaboration.